Hi everyone, it's Nancy McNally, NancyMcNallyQuilts.com. Thank you for joining me today on the next single quilt block, which is the Cross and Crown block. But I've changed something, so we're going to call it the Cross and Crown variation. All right, so don't forget to grab your pattern. You can find it on my website. The link to the pattern is below in the description box. Grab your fabric. We have some bias triangles in there, so you're going to need some spray starch. Use your favorite kind, and you're going to need a marking pen because we're making half square triangles as usual. There's not many blocks that don't have half square triangles in them. All right, gather your fabrics. Use your scraps. If this is the first time you've ever made this block, use scrap fabric so that if you want to continue making these blocks, you can then go grab yardage so you don't waste your yardage. All right. Let's get set up and we'll get started on our Cross and Crown variation. Don't forget, when you download your pattern, even before you start to cut your fabric, go to the last page of the pattern, which is page 3, and there's a coloring image so that you can, or a block for you to color. So you can color it in before you start cutting fabric. See if you like what you've chosen. All right, so today I have all the letters for labeling except for D, which would go right here. I found my alphabetes, but for some reason letter D is gone. I don't know why, but letter D is gone. All right, so we are going to begin the first step with the center portion of the block, and we're going to join our C pieces. So you're going to need 4 of these, and they're easy to create. So the first thing we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to join these, but I'm going to set my stitch length at 2.0. So we're going to sew these together. Now you're going to sew on the short end, not the longer end. So you're going to make 4 of these. So now we're going to move on to the half square triangles, and you're going to need your D fabrics, whichever fabrics or color you have chosen to go in the center to create the shoe fly block. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go right sides. The traditional way to make half square triangles is we oversize the squares so that it's easier in case there's some oopses going on. So we're going to draw a diagonal line. Now I'm using a friction pen. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a line on this one. And now for our next step, you're going to need to sew a 1/4 inch on either side or both sides of that drawn line. So what I do is I go ahead and cut them apart on the drawn line and then sew them. You have to cut them apart no matter what, but this way I've already got it done. So I'm going to do mine this way, and you only have to make 4 half square triangles. So, okay, so let's get this one started. Once you press them, your next step will be to trim them to size. So as you can see, I have pressed my half square triangles, and now it's time to trim them down. All right, so I'm going to take the diagonal line, the 45-degree line, and run it right on that seam allowance where the 2 fabrics come together. Now, the amount you're trimming to, you can use this method for any and all half square triangles. So you have to make sure that to trim them down to the correct size, you have to make sure that there's fabric going past the ruler and past the measurement that it needs to be. Sometimes if you're lucky, you can pull it all the way down to the corner and everything lines up perfectly, but then again, fabric has a mind of its own, and so it does its own thing. So like right here, it's going past the amount that it needs to be. So I'm going to move it up like this. And it's really hard to do sometimes when you're filming. All right, so we're going to move those, and now we're going to take this corner that I didn't trim, and we're going to rotate. And then you can take, because we've already trimmed 2 sides, you can take the measurement that you're trimming them down to, and that should now line up on the outside. And that 45-degree diagonal line, again, should line up right there. I have to get my hand, there we go. And there. And that's how you trim a half square triangle. Okay, we need to trim the rest of them, and then we will move on to the next step. So for our next step, you have to have a left and a right. So I'm calling this side my left, and I'm calling this one my right. Make sure that you separate them. You need 4 lights on this side, and then you need 2 of each of the colors. 4 lights on this side and 2 of each of your colors. Now, I'm going to sew this one first. So let's move this one up here. These are not oversized. If I oversize these, it might be a little difficult to trim them down. So what I do oversize are the larger triangles that are going to join. That's the third triangle that will join to it. And so I give you a little bit of wiggle room with that. All right, so now we have them here. We're going to go right sides together. If I can pick them up. There we go. All right, for the next step, what you need to do, press. And the pressing arrows are in the pattern, and you're going to press towards the darker color away from your light fabric. All right, let me get mine pressed, and we'll set up for the next step. All right, keep your triangle pairs separated, your left and your rights. And now you have your larger triangles, which are the F's. Now, you can see I have 3 colors here because I couldn't decide which color I wanted to use. Okay, so seriously, I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I don't know. All right, so I'm going to lay these out. So I introduced a new fabric. So now I'm putting these together, these 2 right here. So I'm going to need 2 of the F triangles for those. And those are the red or cinnamon, whatever color you want to call them. And these 2 go together. So I've got those paired up. So let's put these off to the side. So I'm going to need 2 for this one and 2 for the other. There we go. All right, so here's how we join these. You're going to take your larger triangle, which is your F triangle. You're going to go right sides together. So now we're just going to sew. All right, for our next step, we need to press. So follow the pressing arrows in the pattern, and then we need to trim these to size. I'll meet you back here in just a moment. So here's how you're going to make each of your corners. All right, so we have our A square. We have our half square triangles that were made with, that makes up our shoe fly block. That's in the center. And then you have a left and a right of your tri-square triangles, and they're called tri-square triangles because it takes 3 triangles to make them up. Now this part is the easy part of piecing. You're just going to treat it as a 4 patch. So we're going to go right sides together. Now and there we go. I just need to give it a press, and I'm going to go ahead and finish sewing the remainder ones, and be back here in just a moment, and we'll put it all together. Now it's time to lay out our block. So you see I have my pieces here. We're going to need to bring in our other pieces that we made in the beginning. So let's lay them out. Oh, I really like this. Okay, so for the next step, it's very, very easy. You're just going to treat this as a 9 patch. So you're going to join these 3 units together and press the seam allowance. Join these 3 units together and press the seam allowance. Same with here. Now, the bottom row, or row 3, is the same as row 1. It's just rotated. Okay? All right. So I'm going to get mine sewn, and I will meet you back here in a moment. Don't forget to nest your seams in the middle first. Then work your way out to the outer edge of each side past the middle. I love this block. Okay, I'm going to give it a press and I'll be right back. All right, there you have the Cross and Crown Variation Quilt Block. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, you can reach me via email or you can drop a comment below. Don't forget that the link to the PDF pattern is in the description box. Thank you again for joining me today. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My Facebook account is So Anyways with Nancy McNally, and my Instagram is at McNally Nancy. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, please, if you like what I'm doing. And you can also subscribe to my newsletter, which will tell you when the new blocks are coming out. All right, everybody, have a fantastic day. Bye.